Good evening, everyone. So, we are about to go live with Mark Anthony, who's a musician, solo artist, a band. Um, Quite interested in this whole live session with entertainment artists, all that kind of stuff. It's good to have different people within the live so it doesn't get boring just with property and property and property. So, Mark,
Hey, how you doing? You
good, and
good?
yourself?
Yeah, good. Just enjoying the weather, enjoying the
Good
good
stuff.
weather, and trying to make the most of this weird isolation period.
Well,
How you doing?
it's getting over now. We're nearly there.
I know. It's really weird, isn't it? Because it's almost like it's becoming like the new norm a little bit. At first, everyone was like, how's this going to work? And
Yep,
what are we supposed to do? What are we not supposed to do? And it's
absolutely.
almost like it's become
Can
the
you
new
see
norm.
me well? Can you see me
Yeah, I
well, or
can
am I
see you perfect.
pixelated?
I can see you perfectly. Can you see me?
Because you are slightly pixelated.
Right. How about now? Is it still
Still
bad?
pixelated.
Oh wow. Do you want me to log out and log in? Would that help at all?
Maybe if I is your internet router somewhere inside the house?
All right, let me try and move this. Let me try and
Yeah,
move
just
this.
just I know that sitting outside is amazing, but
No worries, no worries, no worries. All right, because I'm on 4G at the moment, but I'm gonna log out of 4G and I'm gonna go on the Wi-Fi. One moment, one moment.
yeah. Sorry about the wait. We should be live in a moment again.
Is that any better at all? Or are
Yeah,
you
it
sure?
should get better. It's better, but it should get better once the Wi-Fi starts kicking.
Yeah, okay, hopefully. But hey, how you doing? You good?
Yeah, so far so good. Thank you for accepting my invitation to come on to my live. I know that property, music, yeah,
Is
but
it?
the whole
I
point, the whole point of
yeah.
me doing this right now is so that uh, people can get positivity back in their life. There's a lot of negativity flowing around with all this lockdown, isolation. I can't meet my family. I can't meet my friends. I can't go to work.
Yeah.
The companies either made me redundant or, furloughed me, all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's getting to a point where people are now wanting that positivity, and
That's right.
also the younger generation that's out there that is slightly confused, obviously sitting at home, no schooling, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, I came up with this idea sitting at home one day, and I thought, why not? I was doing a live session on my own. I just clicked live,
Yes.
and your friends and family and all these people come on board. So one day my friend came on, and we started talking. We started talking, instead of talking how are you doing, blah blah blah. We started talking career, and I thought,
Brilliant.
hold on a second, if I can do it with him, then I can do it with a lot of other people out there that are on Instagram and that would be really happy to join me on here and pass some of that knowledge, which
Yeah, yeah.
can help the younger generation or anyone, even the older generation. The positivity, the knowledge helps anyone. And that's what my motto is with doing this, is that share and empower people with knowledge, you know.
Yeah, it's all positive.
So,
It's all good stuff. Yeah.
and I appreciate you taking your time out and coming on here to share what you've done, how you've achieved what you've achieved so far. I've seen a few of your posts in terms of music and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and I know you're a musician. So, enough of me talking. I want you to introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do, Mark.
All right. So I'm Mark Anthony. I'm from London, and I'm a musician, or I try to be a musician. And the current project I am working on at the moment and promoting is my band, The Lyrical Strangers. Lyrical Strangers is a guy called Phil and myself, just two guys. And at the moment, we are promoting our debut album entitled Brand New Day.
Wow.
Which is all fun. For obvious reasons, we're trying to have to do it as much of it online as we can now because
Absolutely.
we can't
And
really.
this is what I want to get into, like how are musicians finding it right now? Because normally you go to the studio, you have a DJ over there and producing music, all that kind of stuff. So
how is it going around? But I'll come back to that.
Cool.
Mark, you mentioned that you're into music and everything. Can I ask
Yeah.
you that when you were young, school going, college going, or university going student, did you always think that yes, music is the place that I want to be, or no, there was another aspiration that you had, like a doctor or lawyer or property broker or an investment banker or a financial advisor, all that kind of stuff. Did you have that or no? It was
Yeah,
mainly music.
growing up, because I grew up in Finsbury Park in North London, and growing up, my only aspiration was to be a footballer. I used to look up to footballers like John
Arsenal,
Barnes and people like
Arsenal.
that. Yeah, and yeah, I'd say I was Arsenal through and through, and I still am. And my only aspiration was to be a footballer. And I used to play for local teams back then, and the school team. And a lot of my weekends were just spent with my friends in my local area playing football. There was no, as far as I was concerned, there was nothing else that existed apart from football. That's all I wanted
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
And then I think around the age of probably 13, 14, I got more and more into music,
Okay.
and a lot of the music acts at the time, who I really looked up to were people such as, like Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, a lot of the hip hop groups, Public Enemy, and
The UK hip hop groups, you mean, or
well, no,
US?
UK and US, yeah, UK and US at the time,
Okay.
and myself and my friends used to write their raps down, because obviously you didn't have Google in those days where you could look up lyrics and stuff. So we would write down all the lyrics for the songs, or what we thought were the lyrics for the songs, to sort of like impress our friends. So we'd be around the flats and we'd be, rapping these lyrics to try and impress our peers and stuff. And collectively, a lot of my friends were into music. So as much of a football fanatic I still was,
Yeah.
I had an ever growing love for music, and it was just done literally just as a hobby. I didn't think I was ever gonna there was no aspirations back then to
Yeah.
take it seriously, or try and be some kind of pop star or anything like that. It was
But
literally just
you mentioned that you wanted to be a footballer, and that's what was in your.
yeah.
Why? What changed you towards getting into music?
I don't know. It's a really good question, because I really don't know. I just think music as a hobby just literally just took over in my mind. And I think that distracted me away from football a little bit, in terms of perhaps the discipline that was needed to,
Okay.
be on the football path.
Okay.
So after a while, I kind of started not going to as many probably training sessions and football matches that I did in the past, because I was just about, oh yeah, look, I want to kind of like listen to music, or I want to try and like imitate these rappers or singers.
Did you ever think? Sorry. Did you ever think that when you got into music, did you ever think that my main aim of doing music is to be famous? Or no, you just loved music?
No, I just love the music, and to be honest, I even think that now. I mean, I know it's different for everyone, but from my personal perspective, I've never really done music for the purpose of trying to be famous or anything like that. I think a lot of the projects I've been involved in, and I'm not saying I'm famous now, but
Yeah.
a lot of the projects I'm involved in have kind of happened accidentally. And for me, it's just the love of the music. I just love
The reason I
music.
ask you this question is because there are a lot of musicians out there, or people who want to do music, and they think that, okay, it's a short-term thing. I come up with one album and I'm going to be a super hit. I'm sure it doesn't work like that in the music world, like it doesn't
No,
work in
definitely not.
the property world. Like, for example, I can't just start up an estate agent and sell £1 million house and then relax and then retire. Like, I've sold
Exactly.
that. You've
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
keep going, and you got to keep that hard work in.
Yeah.
So when you started doing all of those raps and everything with your friends, and how did you manage to sort of, I mean, didn't your parents say anything? Like, Mark, what are you doing? Did they ever, were they
I
always
think
supportive, or there was that?
yeah, I mean, I used to try and kind of like hide it from them in a way, because you know, I grew up in a kind of like an old school Caribbean family. So
Okay.
I guess at the time, especially you know, it was myself, my brother, and my mum. I didn't grow up with my dad, but
Okay.
um, yeah, it was definitely a case where my mum had my kind of career interest at heart. She'd love me to be a doctor,
Oh, is it?
or
Oh.
you know, a doctor or some kind of economist or some, you know, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, because understandably, she was thinking to herself, you know, we've got to have a backup. And you know, Mark's getting distracted more and more away from his homework and is getting more
Yeah,
into
yeah.
music. And I remember once wanting the ground to swallow me up because I was in my front room in Finsbury Park, and I was kind of showing off with my mates and doing all these raps that I'd learned. I think it was like, I don't know, Public Enemy or something like that. And unbeknown to me, my mum was listening through the kitchen hatch area, and in front of my mates, she was like, well, as long as you put that a level of interest into your schoolwork, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, Mum, go away, you're so embarrassing. So, you know, that was my mum's mentality. Understandably, you know, looking back now, I totally understand why she would have done that. But at the time, I was just like, Mom, so embarrassing, just leave me alone, whatever.
It's nothing different. I mean, I know that a lot of English and European parents, they let their kids do whatever they want. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. But come to an Asian background, and you go and tell
Yes.
your parents that I want to do music.
Yeah,
You know, like,
exactly.
you know, there are certain words that Paul Chaudhary says that if you watch the stand-up comedy, you know, and he's like, get it,
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
it, you know.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
You gotta become a
Exactly
doctor
right.
or an accountant
Yeah.
or a lawyer. These are the three
Yeah.
things that an Asian family, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Exactly right.
so then when did you sort of know that?
Okay, so basically, I mean that love as a hobby just really continued up until well, throughout my life, probably up until about 2009, 2010. And what happened was this producer who I knew called Chuck, who I'm still very, very, very close to now. He wanted to put a music group together just for the sake of recording a few tracks, basically.
Okay.
And it was really weird. So he reached out to me, and he was like, "Yeah, I want you and some, you know, get a couple of vocalists, and we could probably go in the studio and record some tracks." So I got in touch with these guys I knew. And it was really weird because I remember inviting them to my flat up in Finsbury Park, and Tim.
They were your friends, or they were just people that you.
They were friends who I knew, kind of who were doing the same
through the music stuff that you were doing. Okay.
Yeah. So I contacted them, and I remember trying to explain to them the concept about putting this group together, and they were like, "Who's in the group?" I was like, "Well, just me at the moment, but do you guys want to do it?" So we all went up to this studio in Burnt Oak in northwest London, and at the most we just thought to ourselves, "Oh, this could be fun. We could just do a few songs and, you know, have a bit of a laugh, and it'll be good."
Yeah.
And for me personally, I just thought the most we'd probably get out of it is 5 or 6 songs. But at that time, it was a big achievement. You know, I'd never really hung around studios before I had the chance to record music as such. And then the short version is within about a year or two, we had an album. And the group was called the Meds Collective. You know, as the group recorded more songs, we took it more seriously, and we thought, actually, this is okay. And the group was called the Meds Collective, and we were really fortunate.
What was the first track you recorded?
The first? Oh wow! Now
can you give me a snippet of it?
Oh wow! The first track we recorded was a track called "No Turning Back." Unfortunately, I'm going to be a spoil sport and say I'm not going to sing it now. But yeah, the first track we recorded was a track called "No Turning Back." And I remember when we recorded that track. In our mindset at the time, we were like, "Oh my God, we've made it! We've recorded a professional track. What an achievement!" Because that, you know, we didn't have the chance to do that. You know, we weren't discovered by some big music mogul or anything like that. So we were just in this, and we thought, "Oh my God, we've recorded a track," and then that track turned into 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks, and then we had an album. But what we were really, really fortunate enough to be able to do is we took it on a tour. So we were taking it all over the UK, and clubs, bars, events,
And
festivals,
this
and stuff.
tour
And
that this tour that you went on, was it funded by the producer, or no, it was from your own pocket? You were funding the tour and you were going to
no,
places.
it was really self-funded for ourselves. I mean, luckily we'd have travel and accommodation taken care of, but we weren't paid like great amounts at the time. We were just happy to just be able to just go on the road, and it was something
How was it?
we hadn't done
If you
before.
can explain to me, how was that experience? All you were paid for was accommodation and travel. So how did you take out your personal expenses and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, it was great. I mean, we always had enough to kind of like get by, And as I said, we were young, so although you look back now and you think to yourself, God, we did work hard, which we did, when we did hustle hard, but it was what you got to think about, it was our first opportunity to be able to do that. So we were just happy to be able to travel to all these places that we really hadn't been before. We got to see a lot of places around the UK. We were performing on stage in front of, sometimes hundreds or thousands of people,
Wow.
which again, it all seemed to just kind of like happen by accident, because certainly at the beginning, there was never a plan to be performing in front of, hundreds or thousands or dozens of people.
Yep.
In some cases, it was only dozens of people. We were just doing what we could just to try and get our name out there. So we were really, really satisfied with
What was the
little we were able to do.
What was the smallest audience that you went up to?
Oh God, the smallest audience, I'd say probably about 15 people.
That's not bad.
I'm really, really glad you asked that though, because and this is my old-fashioned kind of view on performance today. So sorry if I'm offending anyone, but by doing a lot of these small bars that we did, it really felt like we'd kind of like were earning our apprenticeship. Because I think in today's music, and it's just my view, you may get 3 or 4 people that are picked out for a group through reality TV or whatever it is, auditions, and all of a sudden
X Factor.
Like,
yeah,
and you're kind of like flung onto a stage.
There's no struggle. There's no struggle. There's no that main that like you've seen it in your own life. The struggle that you went through. Going to pubs and bars and clubs and performing and all that kind of stuff. It's hustle, right? To get to where you want.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think as a life lesson, I really appreciated that, because it really did feel like we were doing our apprenticeship. I mean, we performed in near empty bars on a Wednesday night when no one wants to come out on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday nights are really bad, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. to the other end of the scale, where we were lucky enough to perform in big stages and in arenas and stuff. And I'm not saying that was the norm, but we did a bit of everything, so it was really, and I really appreciated the fact that we kind of did that. It was
and at that time, what was the largest audience that you performed in front of?
The largest audience we performed in front of was about 80,000, but it was a support act, so they weren't there to see us. I'm not going to say we were
still 80,000 people.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. That was.
There must have been a producer in there. There must have been a songwriter in there. There must have been someone in there. There's so many people. 80,000 people in one go. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that was really good.
So did that sort of platform give you the break that you wanted, like the 80,000 crowd?
So basically the group split up in 2013. So we've been going for a few years. We split up in 2013. And I think for me personally, because we all, I can only speak for myself, and the first thing I wanted to do was just rest for a while, because we were really solidly just writing, recording.
And how many years did you do that for, like pubs, bars, arenas?
Oh God, I'd say it was more the beginning, but I mean we were doing shows solidly for about 5-6 years. yeah, for about 5-6 years we
And
were.
did you go to any of the big festivals like Hyde Park or Glastonbury? Or...
Yeah, we did. I mean, we did Glastonbury, but we weren't on the main stage. We were in the dance tent in Glastonbury. So yeah, we managed to do quite a few festivals. You know, it was really good. You know, I've got nothing but fond memories to talk about.
To be honest,
Despite,
I've never been to a festival yet, but I
all
want
right,
to go one day.
yeah,
Let's see. Um,
yeah.
so once you mentioned that your band split up, then what?
Yeah.
Then how did it?
So yeah, the band split up, and I took some time out for anything up to probably a year, where I just wanted to kind of like rest and become a little bit domesticated and see family again, because we were yeah, for the time we were touring, you know, we were all over the place all the time, and we were either in a recording studio or traveling to gigs or performing away or meeting up for writing sessions. So it was really, really, really full on in terms of the time we dedicated into it. So the first thing I wanted to do was just kind of like take some time out and just find out what 8 hours sleep feels like, which was really good. And then
8 hours sometimes becomes luxury, right?
yeah, exactly. It really was. Yeah, you know, I was used to kind of having my 4 or 5 hours, and that was
Yeah.
it. But then after a while, I became a bit restless, and I wanted to get in the studio again. And there was a producer.
So in this
Oh,
year that you took off, what did you
yes.
exactly do? Did you get up to something else in terms of work, or did you find a job?
Yeah,
Or...
I mean, I was working like away from the industry, so I wasn't sort of doing anything
Okay.
sort of music-wise. I was working away from the industry, and
Okay.
that was that really. But then yeah, after a while, I just wanted to. I felt that I hadn't done music. All of a sudden, I kind of missed music, and I wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
And there's a producer who I heard was looking again the same kind of thing how the Meds Collective got together, who was looking for an artist to produce for. So I contacted him, explained that I just wanted to get in the studio. I felt like I was out of practice. I just wanted to write and record some tracks. And he was based in Edmonton in North London. His name's Oliver.
Okay.
A great producer and a great multi-instrumentalist, and we recorded about a year's worth of material. We probably had about 30 or 40 tracks, a year's worth of material. And it was weird in a way at first, because in my first group, the Meds Collective, I wasn't the lead singer, and I wasn't the front guy, I wasn't the lead guy. So all of a sudden I was kind of like taking the reins, you know. And yeah, so we recorded about I was about to say an hour's worth of tracks, about a year's worth of tracks, and then took a step back from it after we finished. But then we revisited it, and the tracks from that, or some of the tracks from those sessions, formed my first album, which was called Reckless Caution. And that was really, really a test for me, because when I put that album out, again, I was so lucky enough to be able to do loads of, you know, like festivals and support acts, and
now you moved solo.
Yeah. By this time I was solo, completely solo, and it.
Did you find a major difference? Did you find a major difference in being solo and being with a band? Was there like solo you could do whatever you wanted, you know, you didn't have to listen to people, whereas band you might have arguments or whatever, you know?
No, 100%. I think with the solo stuff, there was more creative freedom for me, obviously.
Yep.
But the thing is, I was still able. It wasn't as if I was calling all of the shots, because I was still taking advice and guidance from the producer I was working with. But it was really, really good. I mean, the recording process was writing recording process was a lot quicker, because you're right. With in a band, you're trying to get your idea. Everyone's trying to push their ideas forward, and there's a lot of compromise involved. A hell of a lot of compromise. So not all of your ideas, or not as many of your ideas, get heard as
so
up in a
so
whose
idea in a band gets listened to? Is it the lead singer, or is it the
No, I guess that it wasn't a formula in terms of, you know, one person had more of a say. I think it was just we'd somehow diplomatically reached the final goal, you know,
Okay.
somehow, because there was three of us in a band, but the fourth guy was the producer called Chuck. So within some creative and diplomatic discussions, we'd get there at the end, you know. Yeah, but yeah, the one thing I can say, it wasn't a case of, right, Mark said this, so it must be right, or one of the other members said this, it must be right. Sometimes we'd have to like battle it out and, you know, have these long-winded creative chats to get to some kind of compromise and stuff, which I think is good. But with the solo stuff, it was a lot more creative freedom where I was working with Oliver. And yeah, you know, I loved the whole experience because it was kind of me taking the reins a little bit. But I think where the test was for me is, as I was saying, with the Meds, I wasn't the lead singer. I wasn't the focal point, and that was very comfortable for me. You know, I was happy kind of being one of the, you know, the one on the side. I was really comfortable with that. But when I was performing at these gigs, all of a sudden, my anxiety was reaching all kinds of high, because this is just me now, you know. And, you know, without trying to like big myself up, I was lucky enough to be able to perform at some really big festivals and, you know, some really good support act slots. So I was like, oh my God, this is me. Can I really do this? And I really had to push myself in terms of my own personality, because I'm not an extrovert, I'm quite introverted. So all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I know the chase is good, but now I've managed to get these gigs. Can I actually
keep it up?
Step up to this? Yeah, can I really step up to this? And there was some times where I thought, oh my God, this is too much for me. You know, I can't handle this. But it was such a good life lesson, and I'm glad I did it.
Quick question. I know that even the best of the best musicians, or the worst of the worst musicians, when they get on stage, sometimes they freeze. They can't sing, or they can't perform.
Yeah.
And they're like 100,000, 20,000, 50,000 people that have paid for the ticket, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Why does that actually happen to a musician?
I suspect it's just nerves. I think it's just, nerves. I mean,
but it's the case that they've already performed in front of other people, and then all of a sudden you put them in front of another set of people and they're like blank.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, from my point of view, even though I performed a lot up until now, I still get nervous. You know, I still get nervous, but I've got to the stage where beforehand I'm thinking, oh my God, do I remember all my lyrics? Am I going to freeze? What if people don't like it? But somehow I can't tell you.
How do you get
it together?
How do you get rid of those nerves that you get? You know, how do you start engaging with the audience at first, like for the first
definitely.
5-10 seconds, how are you all doing, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff?
Most definitely. So so beforehand I'm just kind of like Mark Anthony the person, and you know, I'm quite a laid back, fairly quiet guy generally in a social atmosphere, but it's almost like when I step on stage, I've got to put on the Mark Anthony performer hat, and I've got to kind of, I don't know, reach some kind of inner male, I don't know if diva is the right word, but inner male extrovert. And I just try and hype the crowd up and interact with them, get them to, I don't know, respond in some way, get them to shout something, and just try and get them to warm up. And that usually, you know, that usually kind of does the trick.
That gives you the hype kind of thing, and so that you can start performing.
Yeah. And you know, like any artist, some audiences may be tougher than others, but it kind of gives me the more the crowd appear to be enjoying it, the more of a buzz it gives me. And I've always managed to kind of get by doing that. And then it's really kind of flattering sometimes if I've got friends or people that have seen me before going on stage, and they just see me as this sort of, I don't know, chilled out guy, which you know, I'm definitely not an extrovert. And then what is flattering sometimes is that when you come off stage and they're like, Mark, did you just do that? And I'm just like, well, I've got to try, haven't I? So, yeah, I think I just try and put on my performer hat and just try and try and own it. That's what I try and do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's all about it's all about that, right? If you're going to do it as if you own it.
yeah. I try to do
Otherwise,
that. Yeah,
otherwise, there's no point.
yeah.
So you were in a band, you became solo, and
Yeah,
now you're in a two-man band again.
yeah. That's
How,
right.
how how is that? How is that feeling? I mean, are you like thinking like, is this the right choice or isn't this the right choice? I know we're on a live session right now. I don't want your partner to look at this and start thinking, but it's just we're talking about you can be true or you can be untrue,
Yeah.
whatever you
Oh,
want. But it's
everything I'm gonna say is
just to know
100%
about
solid.
how are you adopting to the fact that you were in a band for so long, then you became solo, and now you're in a band again. How are you adopting to that?
Really, really easy. So, basically, when I was solo, even
Yep.
though it's my name on the album or my name on the CD, it was very, very much a collaborative effort with the producer I was working with, whose name's Oliver, and we really bounced off each other really, really well. We became
Yep.
friends, and it was really, really great. Now, this project, Lyrical Strangers, is myself and a guy called Phil Chamberlain, who is a producer. So it's really the same dynamic, apart from the fact he's actually, like
He's going to be
part
singing
of the
with you.
band now. Yeah, but it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same concept. I don't feel that there's been really much difference from when I was doing my solo stuff, albeit it was with Oliver, to now, where although it's labeled a band, but it's exactly the same kind of concept. Phil takes care of the music primarily. I take care of the lyrics primarily. We obviously cross over and give each other advice and stuff like that. But there's not been any. I don't feel there's been any compromise. But one thing I want to say, without sounding like I'm waffling on, is in any music projects I'm involved in, I will always bring a template idea in the hope that by the time I come out of that studio, I'll have something different but better because of the fact that other people would put their ideas in. I think I would find music quite boring if my mentality was, right, this is my idea, I want it to be exactly the same, and that's how I want it to come out. Because I would always bring a template idea, then someone would say, why don't we try that? Why don't we change this? Why don't we take that out? And I guess even through being in the group, where I kind of learned how to compromise, I really see it as a positive now, because there's so many times where I would walk out of the studio up until now, and I think, wow, I did not expect that. And I really thrive on that, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
So
I
it doesn't matter whether you were in a band or you're solo. It's the work ethic that
Yeah.
keeps you going in either way, whichever way you're in.
Yeah. That's exactly how it is. There really has not been a change in the level of compromise I've had to do from my solo stuff, because as I said, I was working with the producer and he had his own ideas, which were brilliant ideas that I'd really gravitate towards, to now working with Phil, who's a different producer, and obviously myself and him have formed the Lyrical Strangers, but it's the same concepts. Sometimes I'd say to Phil, I've got an idea for a beat, this is my idea, and then he will tinker with something and say, right, I just want to add this to it, and I'll be like, wow, I did not expect that, but yeah, let's roll with it. So it's been all positive. I'm genuinely saying that. I'm not just saying that.
When is the new album dropping?
So the latest album, I mean, we only just dropped the album in March the 30th it came out. So we're promoting that at the moment. So the album's called Brand New Day, and that's the album we're promoting at the moment. We've released 2
Is it
singles.
Is it on iMusic?
Yeah, it's on everything. It's on
everywhere.
iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify.
I might give it a listen. So it's called Brand New Day, right?
Brand New Day, Lyrical Strangers.
Super.
So
I might give it a listen
drops
later on this evening once I finish my fast and everything.
Yeah, please do.
So now that you're in this band, and what has it been, 10 years now, 12 years of being in music?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'd say that I've been sort of like writing, performing, and recording from about 2008, 2009. So about 12
So
years, yeah.
12 years. And you've written so many lyrics over the time. And I
Yeah.
think that you might know where this is going. Uh, which is the best lyrics you've written that defines you?
Um, Only because
Maybe,
it's fresh in my
maybe
head.
a few lines. You don't need to sing it, just a few lines. You can say it.
All right, no, it's all good. And the lyric I'm gonna say, only because it's fresh in my head, because we've just spoken about it, is the song "Brand New Day," which is the title track from the album. And before I go over some lines, the concept of me writing that song was the fact that we all get tied up in our own lives and problems and things like that, because life isn't easy a lot of the time. And the concept of the song, I was imagining someone listening to it in the morning, and as a motivational song, and being like, all right, yesterday's yesterday, today's a brand new day, all right, and I'm gonna just kick ass with it. And that was the concept of the song. I just wanted people to listen to it as a motivational song, especially if they've had some troubles and stuff, and it's like, no, today's a brand new day, I'm gonna kick ass with today, and I'm gonna own the day.
On the day.
So the chorus of the song is, today's a brand new day, don't let misery get in your way. And that's kind of like how it starts. And I can't remember the rest of the lyrics now, but the whole song.
But anyways, whoever wants to listen to it, go and check out
But
Mark
but
Anthony's
but
album
I'm
Brand
I'm
New
really
Day
proud
by
of,
Lyrical Strangers.
yeah, but I'm really proud of, as well as me liking the song, I'm really proud of the message of that song, especially
Absolutely.
with what's going on now.
You
It's
gotta
just
you gotta you gotta have a message, right? If you don't have a
yeah,
message, then that song is soulless. That's how I see it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of these musicians out here, they just, drop the music in, and then sometimes I'm listening to the track, and then I'm sitting with a friend and he's got the music video on, and I'm like,
Yeah,
is this the
yeah,
video behind this track that I was listening to?
yeah. I
It's
know.
like, what the hell? But anyway, so
Yeah.
we spoke about all your career and everything, about the music that you're doing. What's next? I know you've dropped your album just now and you're promoting it, but what's next in the Mark Anthony world of music?
Wow. I have to say, I mean, I'm always writing and recording. I'm always writing and recording, and there will be more music later on this year, in some guise, because but yeah, literally me being in the studio and recording, I just do it non-stop. I just do it non-stop. So although I don't want to kind of like over feed people with music, so I don't want them to get bored, there will be more music later on this year in some guys. There is stuff that is ready, and it will
Cool.
be coming
We'll
out
look forward to it.
at some stage. Yeah.
We'll
But
look forward to it.
yeah, I'm always writing and recording. Always writing and recording. So even before Lyrical Strangers, the album was dropped, there was more
So,
stuff.
and one question. In the new album, have you got something written about Corona?
Yes. I have. No, I have. Yeah, I don't want to say. I'm not allowed to say too much. But there are at least 2 tracks that makes reference to the lockdown and Corona. So yeah,
Good stuff.
there
Good
is.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I might give it a listen. And do you know when is it out?
No, we haven't decided when it's out yet, but definitely later on this year. I guess that in terms of promoting stuff, I've been really busy with the Lyrical Strangers stuff,
Okay.
but I've still been recording behind the scenes, and yeah, that's going well. But we don't know when it's going to be out yet.
Let's say you had to do a project with another musician. It can be the one who's possibly passed away or still living. up and
Yeah.
coming artist, whatever, who would your one musician be that you'd be like, I need to do a track with her or him? Who would that be?
Right. I mean, my musical hero is Freddie Mercury, who's obviously not with us anymore. And the reason I'd like to do a track with him, because if you think of the formula of I don't know, rap music with Freddie Mercury style, it's a sort of music that shouldn't work, but the weirdness of it is what attracts me to do music. I always love music that shouldn't work, but you know, I think, okay, well, it
So
should be interesting.
he's your inspiration, if I may say it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it'll be it would be something that was new if it happened. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but yeah, something like that I think would be really interesting because it's a crossover of rock and whatever I'd try and bring, and that's yeah. So it'd be Freddie Mercury, I'd say, as a person, but he's obviously passed away.
Good stuff.
So,
And
yeah,
in this day and age, we were talking about this whole lockdown thing and how you're sort of adopting yourself.
yeah.
How are musicians going to adopt themselves during these times and moving forward? I mean,
Yeah, well, I've seen that a lot of musicians online have been adopting the online world now. So that goes from interviews to concerts and radio's interviews. So I think that if people want to keep on promoting their musicianship out there, I think the only way to do it is online until things get back to normal. And
do you
yeah,
think do you think we're heading into a time where we're going to have virtual gigs?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, when everything gets back to normal, obviously live gigs would be hopefully a thing again because hopefully the
Yeah,
live music industry will survive. But I think that virtual gigs will probably become more prominent than they were before because of the fact it's worked. I mean, even on TV, there's been, you know, massive artists around the world doing like,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, I saw that thing that they did. There was a whole load of artists that went
yeah,
on to Zoom or GoToMeeting, and
that's
one
right.
after the other they were playing. So,
Yeah,
so everyone's adopting, and it's good to know about, especially people who keep the media going. It'd be musicians,
yes,
it'd be Hollywood actors, actresses,
right.
the drama and all that kind of stuff. These are the people who keep people going. And if they're
Yes,
not there, how is
yeah,
TV going to work? The main sort of
exactly.
drive that keeps the person positive all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good to know about that. Um,
Yes.
one final question before we wrap this up.
Okay.
What would you advise the younger generation or people stuck right now in negativity, don't know how to get out, or fear of dying, all that kind of stuff? How would you advise them, and what would you tell them to do to make their life more positive and interesting?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I'd
You can, you can,
say,
you can, if you want, you can sing it. It's not a problem.
yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. But I think just try and find an interest, whatever the interest is, just try and find an interest and try and pursue it. I mean, you know, with myself, I'm just listening to and discovering new music and just trying to just writing new music. And that's how I'm staying sane. So, and I'd like to think that every single person must have an interest. You know, it doesn't have to be anything sort of grand. Something they could just do at home or in the garden or the bedroom, whatever. And I think it's just trying to get an interest and just try and follow it through interest or a hobby.
Totally.
You know, whether it could be
Absolutely.
photography or drawing or cycling. I know cycling may be limited because of the amount of time you're allowed out per day, but you know, cycling, drawing, painting, learning
Yep.
instruments,
Yep.
learning an instrument. Just if you've got access to the internet, just just you know, get onto the online world and just try and learn a hobby. You know, just to keep
Absolutely.
your mind active. Just to keep your mind occupied, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get better at what I do, you know, and that's all I can do.
I mean, I look forward to, well, listening to this album today.
Yeah,
Uh, but I'm looking forward to the new album, which is going to come soon.
yeah,
And all the best for your music. And I'm sure I'll do this again one day when
yeah.
you are a massive, massive artist,
Oh, I don't know
selling out arenas,
we'll
possibly you
see.
might not have time for me then. But at that point,
Always,
I'll play
always,
this live session. I'll be like, look, Mark, you're on
always.
here.
Now, I've always got time for this. I've always got time for this sort of thing. It's great. It's great.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on, and it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to
And
have you
yourself.
on and speak about your life and career so far.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking me. And keep safe, everyone. And just stay alert, keep safe. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, Mark.
All right.
See you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Mark Anthony of Lyrical Strangers, who joined me on my live session today discussing about his life and career as a musician so far, and he's still doing it. Check out his album, Brand New Day by Lyrical Strangers. He mentioned that's on all the platforms, so do check it out. But thank you so much to all the viewers that tuned in and watched this live session. It's great to have people from different backgrounds. It'd be music artists, it'd be entrepreneurs, businessmen, architects. Like I had an architect this morning. It's absolutely amazing with all this knowledge that is being spread by BTH Properties. So thank you so much. Have a great day, evening, whatever you're doing. Stay safe and enjoy. Bye bye.